What's up, everyone? Thank you for checking out this episode of Raised Geek. This week, we discuss episode 7 of HBO's The Last of Us. So let's get into it. I'm Chris, and as always, I'm here with my buddy Don. How we doing, man?
Chris, what is up today, my friend? Everything is all right. I'm getting by, and that's all I can do.
Yes. It was a drag to get through February, but we're here at March.
Yeah, March came quick. Even though February is like 28 days, shortest month, obviously. But man, February seemed to drag and take a long time this year. I don't know why.
It's
like January went by in a flash, but February really took its time there. And
yeah,
whatever. We're through it. We're through it. Inching closer to nice weather, and well, the weather's always kind of nice for you. For me, getting closer to some nice weather.
Yeah,
it is going to snow tomorrow. I'm not excited about that.
Ooh.
Yeah. But yeah, man, I'm good. How are you?
I'm hanging in there.
Yep.
Hanging in there. It was 90 yesterday, so
come on.
Yeah.
Is that good or?
I was unexpected. It was supposed to be like 70, and don't know where 90 came from. And then today it dropped down again. So it's just weird. We'll have one day to be like 80, the next day to be 50, and the next day it's 90, next day it's 47. It's like, I don't know how am I supposed to dress?
But 90 degrees in March as a semi-complaint kind of
pisses you off
a little bit. Just a touch.
I was outside all day. I wasn't ready.
I get it. Okay.
Wasn't ready, but no, it was nice. It felt good. I'm not gonna hate on it, but
there you go.
But as we said, we're kind of pushing through this year already. And it led me to think of a question that I've been meaning to ask you, because I know we've talked about games every once in a while on here, and I know you just got done playing The Last of Us Part 1, and then you were trying a lot of little things, and I was curious of what'd you settle on? What are you playing now, man?
Well, nothing for the past few days. It's been a little bit, but yeah, I have tried a couple things. A Christmas gift this year was Midnight Suns, Marvel Midnight Suns.
Mm-hmm.
And I really gave that game a shot, and it's all right, but I'm just not really feeling it. And I didn't know if I would or not. I just, wanted to give it a chance.
The hype was there.
The hype was there, and it got a lot of good reviews. Not that I take a ton of stock into that, but yeah, just the card tactic strategy aspect of it just isn't really hitting for me. And like the graphics kind of suck. And you spend a lot of time in like this mansion talking, and it's like not a lot of action for the few hours I put in. I was just like, man, this is kind of boring to me. Which is unfortunate because I wanted to like it more than I do. So yeah, I haven't been playing that. What else did I turn on? Obviously Call of Duty. I know we've played a couple times.
Yeah, we did jump into season 2 of Warzone, and it played a lot better than season 1 did. So
definitely did. But I got a few things that I've been thinking about that I don't own. Well, I have plenty of games that I haven't played sitting down there. Like the new Dead Space remake was interesting to me. I know you and I talked about that. Maybe wait for a price drop on that. I am excited for Resident Evil 4. I know that's coming soon around the corner. That one.
Yeah, that's like a couple weeks.
Yeah, that's another remake, but of like one of the greatest games ever made. Yeah. So that might be a day one for me. We'll see. I don't know. A couple things on the horizon. What about you? What's your gaming situation?
Did a lot of little playing thing. I think the one that's going to hook me right now is I started playing Death Stranding. It's on PS Plus, so it just was there. So I downloaded it after they did the announcement for the second one to give it a shot. And I tried it when it came out. I rented like at a Redbox, like when it came out, and I played it and I was like, I don't know what this is. And never really went back to it, but then it's just sitting there. So I was like, let me give this a shot. And I kind of fell into it this week. Got a couple chapters in and kind of getting an idea for it's just a different kind of game. So trying to figure out what it is, but it's really kind of been interesting. I kind of been thinking about it a lot. Been doing that, and I've almost through Metroid Dread over on the Switch. I've been playing on the Switch stuff. I was able to find Metroid Prime remastered in disc form when it came out, and then I was playing Dread, and this game's pretty awesome, and I'm barreling towards the final boss. I think I just hit a wall of very hard difficulty.
Hard stuff.
Yeah. So I was like, so I kind of paused and started playing Death Stranding. So at some point I'll have to swing back over to Dread and jump and get my Metroid on. I tried to do Breath of the Wild again to play that second one. And I just can't do it.
But so many people love Breath of the Wild. What's wrong with you?
I don't know. I struggle with just what it is. I don't know. I could see why it's there, but it's just something about it. I just haven't hit a point in which I'm like, it's got me.
Sure.
So it's like I want to, and I've tried so many times, and I'm sure it's cool, but I can't get to the cool stuff.
Yeah, man. Sometimes even acclaimed games just maybe aren't for you.
Yep. Not everything's for everybody.
Exactly.
But you know what seems to be for everybody?
What's that?
The Last of Us, because everybody's watching the show, man.
Yeah, it's a phenomenon. We've said it before, but getting SNL skits and Pedro Pascal hosting SNL and people talking about it like in regular real life, and your parents know what The Last of Us is now. It's like, what is happening?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
The show The Last of Us.
I heard it's scary. It's fun. It's cool though. I love it. I'm really happy it's a success. That like we've kind of said on here before, that people get to experience a story that we love. Like the general public who might never put a video game on, or has no interest in video games, is now still getting to experience this story that I'm happy is being told.
Told correctly, as we've said many, many times. Being told in a way that, if you're a fan of the game, you're happy, and it's just quality. It's such a good story. So,
yep.
And we dove into this week with episode 7, Left Behind, Ellie's Adventure.
Ellie's Adventure, based on the DLC. So, most of this game is based on the core Last of Us Part 1. This episode is based on the downloadable content, for those who don't know what DLC is, which came later after the release of the core game, kind of diving into the backstory. So,
yeah. And that was just, that's all it was it's been a while since I played that one.
It was like all the Ellie scenes were the DLC. And then when she's in the beginning and in the end of the episode with Joel, that's in the game. That's in the regular game. So they kind of mixed that in a little bit. But we're on YouTube now, so people can see that you're upset with your coffee. Whatever, your tea.
Yes. I was trying to figure out how it came out of the cup.
You're messing up.
Yeah. Edit button.
One thing I definitely did enjoy about this episode, before we even get into it, is that it was based on the DLC, and I haven't played that in so long. So like a lot of this was, I've experienced it playing it once, but I didn't remember exactly how everything was going to go down in the little details.
Yeah.
So that was, nice, because every other episode, I'm fresh off the game for my third playthrough. So it's kind of like, okay, I see what's around this corner. But yeah, so I appreciated that part of it a little bit.
Yeah. So for this episode, we left episode 6 with Joel getting shanked and pretty much
shanked hard,
and went down for what looked like could be the count. And we picked up this episode with as Joel's fighting for survival. Ellie is looking back and reminiscing about a night that changed everything. So just kind of almost catching up her story to where we were in episode 1. So like filling in those last little gaps in the story of Ellie, stuff that was teased in the first couple episodes. We now get to see play out and see what actually happened to her. So that was I thought it was nicely placed. It was a good spot to drop this story within the story.
Yeah, this is where it would belong. Because in reality, this episode takes place in probably 5 minutes of Joel at the beginning being stabbed and feeling like he's gonna die.
Yeah.
And telling Ellie to run and leave him and save yourself, and her doing it for a second, but then she goes into this memory of her time with Riley, and then shoots back to her, deciding, no, I'm gonna fight for a person again this time, and maybe I'll be able to save someone this time. So yeah, like it was a 5-minute episode, but with just a long flashback sequence in the middle.
Right.
So what's up with this? What's up with this show and flashbacks being like their strongest episodes?
Right.
Or at least some of them. I mean, they're all strong episodes, but yeah, just like.
Well, I think they're just, they're self-contained stories. You got your beginning, middle, and end for what the story was, and same thing you did with like the Bill and Frank.
Right. That's what I was referring to.
Yeah. So you just kind of have your complete stories here where the rest is still an ongoing tale. So it's kind of cool to see that. I really liked being able to see Fedra kind of in action. The speech that Ellie's commander was lecturing her with, showing as she was promised and showing what they're there for, and seeing just the other side of Fedra, I thought was really cool.
Yeah. And we got to see a lot of, like you said, filling in the gaps. Like the first thing you see when the flashback starts is Ellie jogging around this gym with like a Fedra trainee hoodie on. It's like, oh, there you go. That explains some things, or just like where her place in the world was before meeting Joel and all this stuff. So yeah, that was like cool, and seeing Fedra in action, like you said.
Yeah, and just seeing, like I said, a different side of it. We've always seen them as the bad guys, and not necessarily saying that they aren't, but at least it cast this like world in a little bit more gray.
Well, it's like how it just kind of depends on how you view people. Like they've showed us Fedra as this evil group and has oppressed people and whatever, but now seeing them from the inside, you can see, especially when that commander's talking to her, they're the people that, in their minds, they're the ones holding the glue, holding the world together. So it's just kind of about your perception, how you view authority or government or things, and that's kind of a reflection on our lives in real life as well. Some people love cops, some people hate cops, some people love the government, some people hate the government. It's like some people love Fedra, some people hate Fedra. So it's kind of like looking into the mirror, an apocalyptic mirror, if you will.
Apocalyptic mirror.
That's the name of my new metal band.
Not bad.
Will you come see us?
Please come see us. And then we got introduced to Riley, which has been name dropped before, played by Storm Reed. She came in, busting into the really just begging to get shanked by Ellie, just busting in her room at 1 a.m.
Yeah, like in what world, in this scary ass world these people live in, is it a funny joke to put your hand over someone's mouth while they're sleeping and not expect to get stabbed? You almost got stabbed real hard. We all know Ellie's a psycho already. So
yeah,
she got lucky.
She got real lucky. She got real lucky that didn't backfire hard. But we got introduced to Riley, who basically said, "Hey, I'm a Firefly now." And I'm well, she didn't say she was leaving, but she said, "Come on, I want to show you something." So then they went and Aladdin style jumped some rooftops.
Right.
Which looked like fun.
Carpet? Where was the magic carpet?
They could have used that many times during this episode.
Well, we'll talk about it more as we go, but what did you think of, like, we've had a lot of one episode performances in this show so far, or two, barely two. We only got Bill and Frank for one episode. We got Henry and Sam for one episode. Now we get Riley for one episode. Henry and Sam were like in a little bit of 2 episodes. But is this another strong performance from like a not main cast member to you? How did you feel about her as an actress and as a character?
I liked Riley. I think there was a little bit of a growing curve with her a little bit where I'm like, well, what are we getting? as the story progressed, then we got to start seeing those levels of their relationship, and the complexity of the performance started to come out a little bit more than just the initial where she was just being a badass. Right. That was a little kind of like, all right, this will work, but whatever. And then, like I said, as the episode continued on, she really, really came out, and the two of them worked just so well together by the end.
Yeah,
that I
agree. I thought
another strong performance from a one-off, which they're good at doing because that's what this show is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
people coming and people going.
I think they acted well together. Like, it was very believable, their connection and relationship. I heard in the companion podcast say they had to find somebody who could challenge. As good as they see as Bella Ramsey as an actress, they tried to find an actress who could match her in scenes and kind of hold her own. And I think they did a good job of that. She brought me into the episode. Both of those actresses did, and I thought they both did a really good job together. And the actress who played Riley alone herself too, like, very good. Kudos.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like we've said many times, the sets in this episode was definitely, a big set that they did really well. But I mean, the sets, the casting, I mean, we're really just hitting everything out of the park with this show.
Yeah, the set was great. The mall, especially, I really liked. Seemed like another set they probably built. Like, that's not like but great job, like duplicating the game same way they did the cul-de-sac in couple episodes back. They kind of built that whole thing to make it look as close to the game as they could.
Right.
And this was another example of that, like everything, the Ferris wheel, all the stores, the dinginess of it, just like, it looks like you're watching yourself play the game up on screen. It's just like, they keep doing this. They keep knocking this out of the park with the way this thing looks. So it doesn't hurt that Neil Druckmann wrote this episode. Like, I think this was his only solo credit, at least so far, with writing. And, he's the guy who knows these characters best. And so that definitely helped. But yeah, I'm with you on the way it looked, and the sets and everything looked great.
Then we went to the mall to discover the 5 wonders of the mall.
5 wonders of the mall? Right. Okay. Yeah, you're right. I gotcha.
5 or 6.
Yeah.
The escalator didn't count. But yeah, once I got to the mall, Bella Ramsey's performance just became infectious. No pun intended. Just like she just was you could tell she was just having so much fun, and to be able to bring that kind of wonder of seeing things that you've only read about or heard about, but then to be able to experience them, and for her to be able to show that in such a wonderful way, just kind of made you smile watching her have fun with an escalator, watching her, just be amazed, and the emotions that went through her throughout this mall walk was just, like I said, it was super fun to watch.
And like sharing that moment with someone that she's obviously, has feelings for, and making it seem authentic.
Yeah.
And bringing you to a place where it's like, childhood crushes. I remember what those were like when you're a little kid, when you're young, and how someone makes you feel. And that like was conveyed well by her through the screen. Like the way you look at somebody when you're like, ooh, I have a crush on them. Just like, oh yeah, that's real. That's how we all did it.
Yeah. She did it. Yeah. Did it great. I mean, started subtle, and just to watch it grow throughout the episode was like I said, it was fun to watch, even though you knew nothing good was going to happen.
Well, because nothing good ever happens on this show. It's a terribly dark, sad, bleak show, but we love it because it's being told in such a way that makes us love it. But it's still damn heartbreaking. Everything. Yeah.
Beautifully heartbreaking.
Beautiful. Is that a Dashboard Confessional song?
Probably. Probably. I would not be surprised about that. You know what pissed me off about this episode?
What's that?
Is I'm sorry, but there is no way those girls are pulling off fatalities in Mortal Kombat 2 on the arcade.
Right.
Like, those were hard to do.
You couldn't even do that with strategy guides.
No, I mean, and even if you know the moves, back in Mortal Kombat 2 days, that was hard. You had like 2 seconds to do 5 seconds worth of button pushing.
Right.
And like, okay, Riley has been to the mall. She's played the game a few times. So, okay, maybe she could pull it off. The fact that in any world that Ellie did it, when they started that scene, she didn't know how a joystick worked.
Right.
And then she's busting out fatalities. Like, please.
Like, come on.
Come on. Bring us back to reality here a little bit.
This is like the third time in this show, or second or third time, that Mortal Kombat has been talked about. I just find that funny and like cute. I think like Neil Druckmann must be a huge Mortal Kombat fan. I mean, he's a video game guy. Yeah. Him and Ed Boon are probably like buddies or something.
Mortal Kombat's been getting some love.
Right. They just keep bringing it up. Like, I wonder if Mortal Kombat downloads have spiked ever since, like, ooh, Mortal Kombat.
Mortal Kombat 2. Everybody's been playing that this week.
Right. But that's funny. Yeah, we couldn't pull off fatalities. There's no way they could. And I brought up strategy guides for those of you listening who are maybe, a lot younger than us. A strategy guide is a thing that existed before you could Google everything about video games. So we had to actually go to the store and pay money for a magazine that had all the moves in it and like character bios. That's how we learned how to do fatalities and babalities and dragon punches and all that shit.
And then you would take it and trade it with kids at school for a book that they had that taught you another game or taught you other things. Or there would be magazines that would only give you so much. And then you'd have to go like get the other half of the characters from somebody else.
Yeah.
You just learned stuff on the playground.
I still remember reading a Street Fighter 2 strategy guide in 5th grade, Mr. Harvey's homeroom class. So I could go to LJ's house and play Street Fighter because I didn't know how.
You're like, I'm going to beat LJ.
Weird.
Hey, man, those fighting games, that was a thing, man.
It's like, I got to learn how to be Blanca. Hold back 2 seconds, forward punch.
You had to figure it all out. And I'm sorry, it took a lot. And for a girl who was slapping the joystick.
Yeah, there's no chance in hell.
She was pulling off a fatality. But
right, if you're gonna have a beef with this episode, that one's acceptable to me. I agree.
Yeah, that was a bit much. But yeah, I enjoyed them all. And then obviously, we had the slow burn to the infected showing up because you knew at some point something was going to jump out. So how'd you feel about how they did it? Like they showed us that there was infected in the mall that woke up halfway through, give or take.
Yeah.
And then we still had to wait till almost the end for it to actually show up. But
well, yeah.
Was it better to see it and know it was coming, or just know it was coming without seeing?
I liked that choice, I think, because it added a sense of dread through their entire, date. Because you just knew that was going to get paid off at some point. Yeah. And the longer it kept going, you're just like, when's it going to happen? When's it coming out? When is it going to bust out? Is it busting out here? No, it didn't. No, they still have to, get there. And it kind of added like I said, this dark cloud was hanging over this episode the entire time. And to me, that kind of added to it. Like if it would have just popped out, it would have been fine too. But I think the choice to show you that there is one in there with them, and we're not going to tell you when it's going to come out. You're just going to have to wait.
Right.
I like that. I thought that was cool. What about you?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, knew it was there, but yeah, to show it, to see it. I was trying to remember in the game if there were more than the one.
Oh, I'm sure there was. There had to be action in the game.
So right? Sure. That's what I was trying to think, because I was like, I felt like it followed the story of the game really well, but I was trying to think, I'm like, what the hell else did you do in that DLC?
I'm sure you fought stuff. The good thing about this game is the good thing about this show, well, good or bad, however you're looking at it, but like they're doing cutscenes.
Yeah.
This show is the cutscenes of the game.
Yeah.
It's not the action in between where you're fighting 50 infected in the mall first. It's cutscene to cutscene to cutscene. and it's beautiful. We love the cutscenes. That's where you get all the meat and potatoes of your story.
Yeah,
but yeah, I'm sure in the game there was a lot more going on action wise.
Now, since you brought it up, how do you feel about that? The fact that they have cut a lot of this action, a lot of the action's not making the screen. I know that does upset some people. Some people there is a group of people that are just like, what about this scene and this action sequence? And they're tied into the action almost more than the story. Yeah. And want to see those scenes. Like we're talking about, I want see this scene on created, and it's all the cut scenes that we want to see recreated. Some of the tense moments, but there are people who want to just see the action. And they're not doing that.
I understand people's feeling on that, but it doesn't really apply to me personally feeling that way. I don't, because I just love the story of this game just as much as any of the gameplay itself. Now, could I do with maybe a little more? Yeah, but I think there is still enough in there to at least satisfy me. Like if you threw in all the action from the games, we'd just be sitting here watching like World War Z or something like that, you know. I think they're trying to tell a story more about the people and Joel and Ellie than the infected.
Well, I think they said it towards the end of one of these end of the episode things where they said there's a lot of emotional action.
Right.
You know, in these moments between these characters that are action packed. It's not action in the traditional way of fighting, but there's still a lot going on in these episodes that you could look at as action.
Yeah.
But yes, I can understand why you wouldn't want to buy that. But the action sequences to me were always stressful. So I'm okay with not reliving those.
I hear you.
There's a couple set pieces. Yeah, the school in Billstown would have been cool to see. The gymnasium boss fight would have been cool. Outside of that, I don't think there's a damn thing I want to relive. We saw the clickers in the museum. That was cool. You know, that was a good one. I liked how they did that, and that was an iconic moment. But yeah, all these random just action scenes where you're stealthing around, throwing bottles and choking out dudes. I don't need to see any of that shit recreated. It was stressful.
Yeah, and what are they going to do? Spend 30 minutes of just, like I said, Joel crouching around, sneaking behind stuff? Like 75% of the infected in the game, I just snuck past anyway. I didn't even engage them. So what are we just going to have them sneaking around in the dark? Yeah, so I get what you're saying, or I get what people are saying, the complaints, but I'm good with what we're getting. I'm finding that just as engrossing as any extra action sequences.
How come the future is obsessed with 80s music? They always whenever there's like a show like this, obviously this show takes place in a apocalyptic future, whatever. But you know, things still existed past the 80s, but like the kids in here got their Walkman and they're listening to their 80s aha.
Take on Me.
Yeah, you know, they're listening to 80s music and you're like, well, you didn't find any Nirvana cassettes, like where like why does that survive? And then like I said, you just look at a lot of times they want to do this. I was watching on TNT the other day Ready Player One, which is the most ridiculous movie, but like this idea that the futuristic people are just obsessed with the 80s, you're just like,
yeah,
so weird to me that's where they always end up going. But yeah, but why does the 80s music just work so well for these types of scenes?
I don't know, maybe because it's just like fun and bubbly.
Yeah, just nostalgic in all the right ways.
Smells Like Teen Spirit might not have worked there, you know.
I mean, it wouldn't have been as fun, right? I guess. Yeah,
exactly. That's why. I think that's why. There's plenty of fun songs.
But like Stranger Things is, well, I guess that takes place in the 80s. Never mind. Edit button.
Well, now we have that 90s show, so I'm sure they're playing a lot of 90s on that. Have you watched any of that?
No.
Me neither. I never played.
I didn't watch that 70s show, so
yeah.
Like I watched an episode here or there, it was fine, but it was never anything that I like sat down and watched, so I don't have nostalgia to revisit.
I watched a few, and I have no. But
You watched a few of the 90s show?
No, 70s. Yeah. No, not interested. But I don't know.
I know there's and 90s are there. It's just always funny that you're always go back to the 80s for these types of things. And I don't know if they're just trying to appeal to the audience more than the actual kids, but
I was fine with the song being there, but when you think about it, it doesn't make sense. Or it doesn't, like, you asking yourself why that song makes total sense. Because why that song? It doesn't have anything to do with anything. But
just like little things. It's just things I notice about pop culture.
Sure.
But I did like this episode. One of the best things was just this idea of growing up in this world and having this one night for these kids to basically be kids and discover something that they've never seen, discover something that they've never only read about or been told about, like I said previously. And just like I said, the performances of both Storm Reed and Bella Ramsey were just awesome to watch. They just so fully committed to where they were going.
Yeah.
And even when they got down to their big kiss at the end, it was just like done so perfectly. The big cheesy smile on Bella Ramsey's face.
Yeah.
Like that just made you smile and you were just so happy. And of course, that's when the bastard comes crawling out of the thing.
They got to ruin all your enjoyment and excitement.
Yeah.
And she definitely brought her A game, Bella Ramsey. I think this was probably her strongest acting. She's acted really well for this entire episode. I mean, entire show. But she really brought it. Like I said, just made me. I didn't question the believability of any of it the entire time. That's how authentic the acting I feel was. Especially like the scene that stands out in my head the most is after her and Riley discover their bit. And like when Bella Ramsey's like looking down at her arm and she's like trying to wipe it away.
Yeah, that was so heartbreaking.
And then she like let out this crazy scream. I was like, that's fantastic. Like, give her the Emmy. But yeah, that was a great scene. And just, them two together through all the heartbreak and everything. I'm kind of glad.
She went from pure joy to pure terror, so fast. And then it was just this idea I kept having too, where you're just like, and they brought it up, but then like Riley wouldn't let her, but just this idea of like, well, we know Ellie is immune. But how fast could it have been like, well, let's just shoot ourselves because that's what we do.
Right.
And it's just like, man, that's
easily
crazy to think about, like
how things could have changed that quick.
Right. Yeah. And how many people might have been immune to this thing and just did that, because they were just like,
Ellie, is Ellie the only one ever,
I doubt it.
Right. I wanted to ask how you felt about the choice. I mean, they get bit and they both sit down and realize they're not going to take themselves out. They're just kind of let it play out. How do you feel about them not showing us? And I can't remember exactly in the game if this is how it happened too, but like they don't show you the end of what happens with Riley and Ellie. Like, do they go to sleep? Does Riley turn and Ellie doesn't? And she has to, what she has.
I'm almost positive that's what they did in the game.
Okay.
I'm almost positive. I have images in my head of it that I feel like that's what happens is that Riley turns and Ellie doesn't. And then she has to.
Right.
And I think that they've alluded to that with Ellie saying she's had to shoot someone before and she's had to do this. So I feel like they don't need to show it.
That's what I was going to say. Like, are you fine with them not including it?
100%. Yeah, I did. I where they decided to end it was wonderful. It was for the story they were telling. I thought it worked really well. I didn't need to see more. I didn't need to see, they left it in still kind of almost a hopeful way. But there's been enough information throughout the show to know what happened.
Yeah, you can kind of fill in the blanks with what Ellie has said about that.
Yeah.
So I agree. I think we already kind of went through it with Sam and Henry, Yeah. You didn't want to have to do that again and go through that all again of seeing someone you have a bond with, turning.
Plus, that's just not what the episode was about.
Exactly.
Like the episode wasn't about that. It was about relationships. It was about growing up in this world. It was about hard decisions that you have to make. And like, it was more of the beautiful side of that and finding those little moments in that world that are special. And I think taking it dark towards the end just wouldn't have flowed. I just don't think I don't think it would have flowed as well.
Yeah.
Plus, we were going back into a similar situation with Joel, so it tied in a lot more. Like in the game, it was a freestanding DLC, so you kind of needed an ending a little bit more. And it wasn't anything. I don't remember that she didn't talk about Riley throughout the regular game, did she?
No.
Yeah, so I mean, it was like there wasn't anything in the original story that tied into that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you needed more finality, especially if you were charging people a price for a game, you know, that's not going to continue. You have to kind of finish the story.
Right. Yeah. A change they made from the game that is well done. I agree.
I think being able to take the lessons and the similarities back to Joel just makes more sense.
It makes more sense.
Yeah. And worked with their story, worked with their relationship and how much he really does mean to her.
Yep.
And we saw the last person, you know, like I said, she let that one she had to let go. This one she doesn't have to. So she's going to do whatever she can to figure that out. And then, like I said, it caught us basically up with Ellie in episode 1 because you just assume Marlene found her.
Mm-hmm.
One way or another, Marlene found her, realized that she wasn't infected, and grabbed her.
Yeah. Kind of let you fill in the gaps yourself of how she got from there to there. So yeah, totally cool.
So yeah, I was 100% cool. I thought it was nicely placed. It works really well. We get to continue Ellie's solo adventure next week. As she gets her crazy adventure.
Yeah, we're gonna go on a little adventure here. This I'm kind of sad there's only 2 episodes left, but you know it's got to end sometime. Still wondering how they're gonna fit all this story into 2 episodes, but I'll be here to see it for myself.
And I can't figure they're gonna mess it up at this point.
No, they've earned my benefit of the doubt that they're gonna stick this landing because everything has been choice so far.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I'm
100%.
Yeah,
and you know what? We'll be here still talking about it because we've been coming back weekly now here talking about this. We got a couple more weeks and then we'll have to figure out what the hell we're going to talk about here on this show.
Oh no.
Yeah. And I have to go back to weekly conversations of what are we talking about this week? What are we watching this week?
It's been nice not having to have those for 9 weeks. You just know what's going on.
Yep. Just all I got to do is watch something I'm already going to watch. I don't have to figure something else out.
So like 2 days before recording, we're not like, what are we supposed to do?
Yeah, what are we talking about this week? Do we know anybody who can come on and talk for us?
Yeah.
But we will be here continuing on. We're pushing our March to episode 100. Should be super exciting when we get there, and you don't want to miss that. So like, subscribe, follow, Raise the Geek on all podcasts and podcasts and platform services. That's not a right word.
It's close enough.
You know what I'm saying. So podcast services, social media platforms, we're everywhere. Spotify, hit us up with those subscribes over on Spotify. Make that be your choice podcast platform.
There you are.
Hit us up with those 5-star reviews because that helps out the show. Or check us out over on YouTube at Raise the Geek. Or you can shoot us an email, raisethegeek@gmail.com. I got all those mixed up, but Raise the Geek, we're out there. You can find us.
You get the idea, everybody.
You get the idea. So you have any closing comments on episode 7 of The Last of Us?
Loved it. But I've loved them all. So
no surprise. No surprise. We are fans of this show.
Absolutely.
And we'll be back next week talking about episode 8 and seeing what kind of trouble little Miss Ellie gets herself into.
Little Miss Ellie.
Little Miss Ellie. But for this episode, that's going to do it for us this week. So for Raise the Geek, I'm Chris.
And I'm Don.
And thanks for checking out the show.
Where geek is all we speak.